Hey everyone, so in this application we're going to do a fun little project. We've got a compass sensor, which is the MAG3110, and then we've got an MCP23008 SCR8G5LE. These are both products that can be purchased from ControlEverything.com. The 8-channel relay controller here is actually currently shipping for a limited time with the Particle Photon module. So you get these 8 relays and the module for I think like $45. It's really cheap. And then we're using this 3-axis magnetometer to determine our compass heading. So we're going to control relays with that. I think this little mini module sensor here is like $15. So this is just a fun little project. It's really cheap and really easy to put together. We've got a great GitHub library that's been imported to Particle's web IDE known as Build. So all you have to do is bring that in, flash it, and you are ready to go. So just real quick, this is basically what the board does. We're going to point our compass at a particular heading, and that's going to turn a relay on or off. And basically we're just going to wave back and forth, and we're going to turn these relays on and off. Kind of a fun little project. Not sure what you'd use something like this for. I think it'd be cool to have, maybe water pumps hooked up to each of the relays controlling fountains, and then as you move the compass back and forth, you could see the fountains turn on and off. Would be kind of a neat project to do. But here we're just turning relays on and off. Nothing too crazy, but it is kind of fun. It's actually addicting to sit here and just wave this compass back and forth and play with the relays. It's really a neat project. Like I said, not very expensive to put together. So let's go ahead and delve in to what we've got to do here. Of course, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to, if you just got your Particle Photon module, you'll need to associate it with your Wi-Fi and associate it with your Particle account, and create a Particle account if you don't already have one. You can go to docs.particle.io. They've got all kinds of documentation here for setting up your Photon module. A lot of very interesting information at docs.particle.io, so be sure to check that out. After you have your Particle module associated with your account, you've got it connected to Wi-Fi, you've got it plugged into your relay board, and you've got your compass plugged into your board. You are ready to go. And of course you'll need to connect the 12-volt DC power supply source to the relay board. I have a USB cable hooked up to the Photon board here, mainly for monitoring output and the console log. So we'll get to that in a minute. But this will all run without the USB cable, just run off the 12 volts. So the first thing we need to do is we need to flash some firmware in here. So we're going to head over to build.particle.io/build. And we have this entire application put together as a library that you can bring into Particle. And once you're here, you'll want to click on the Libraries button on the left. And then in Libraries, you're going to want to scroll down to Community Libraries, and you're going to want to search for Compass_Relay. My interface here will look a little bit different than yours. So since I'm the contributor, Compass Relay actually shows up under my libraries since I created it. But if you just scroll down here, like I said, to Community Libraries and search for Compass_Relay, the library will pop right up. Once you find it, go ahead and click it to select it. And once it's selected, you'll see 3 files here. We've got application.ino, we've got compassrelay.cpp, and compassrelay.h. You'll want to make sure application.ino is selected, and then click Use this example. And that will fork the example, so you've got it in your local code directory. You'll see I have a lot of apps over here. And it just created one called Application. I'm going to go ahead and rename it so it's easy to find, and I'm going to call it Compass Article You can call yours whatever you want. So one thing that we have to do here is this is using a library called the NCD8 relay as well. So we actually need to manually import that library at this point. So what we need to do is we need to go back to libraries, and then you'll want to come down here to community libraries again and search for NCD8 relay. And once again, mine shows up here since I'm the contributor of the library, so I'll click on NCD8 relay. And this time we're not going to click use example, we're going to click include in app because we want to bring it into that Compass article application we just created. So we'll click that, and then we'll click add to this app. And you'll see it adds the include for you right there. So at this point, that's it. You're ready to flash the firmware in here. So what you need to do is click on devices, make sure your controller is online, indicated by this little glowy icon here. And make sure that if you have more than one device, just make sure it's starred so you know that it's selected to be flashed. If you only have one device, I don't think it shows you this star. So at that point, we are ready to click the flash button, and you'll watch the LED on your module, and it will flash magenta, and then it'll cycle back to flashing green and then flashing blue once it's back connected to the cloud. And that's all that we have to do. So at this point, we're running the firmware in there. We're good to go. So what we need to do is, whenever we move the compass all the way this way, which would be far east for me, or far west, we need to set that as the maximum limit. And then we'll move it all the way to as far as we want to go east and set that as the minimum limit. My controller already had this firmware in it, so it already has some values stored in it. But it's important. You absolutely have to configure the board. You have to run through that, and then you have to set your minimum and maximum. So first thing we need to do is calibrate the sensor, because this sensor right out of the box is almost useless. So we have to calibrate it, but that's easy enough to do. All we need to do is go to mobicle.io here. And mobicle.io is going to ask you to enter your particle credentials to log in and access your devices. So go ahead and enter your credentials for your account, and you'll be confronted with a device list page. And your controller should show up here. I flashed it into I²C generic is the name of my Photon module. And over here I see it listed, so I'll click on that. I've already added some buttons here. These will not show up by default. By default, you're going to see, this is going to be blank. You're going to see variables, and you're going to see functions. So the first thing you want to do is you want to click on Calibrate, and then you want to enter in Start. And what this is going to do is it's going to put the module into a calibration function where it is monitoring the XYZ axes, and it's trying to find the minimum and maximum values that can be found on those axes. I have the firmware printing out every time it finds a new minimum or a new maximum. So if you open up a serial port monitor to the controller, on Mac it's just particle serial monitor, and enter that. We can see all these minimum and maximum values changing as we move the sensor around. And what we want to do here is we just want to rotate the sensor in every possible orientation in order to get this calibrated. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep moving this thing around until we don't get any more prints in our serial log. You could do this without monitoring the serial log, but I find it nice to know if it's finding new minimum and maximum values. So I always open my serial log for this. And the longer you do this, the better. You want to make sure you find every absolute minimum and every absolute maximum for the three axes. This is going to make the sensor much more accurate. So see, we just got another one there. Sometimes you can flip this thing around for a long time and actually still get new readings in our log here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call that good. So at this point, we need to stop calibration and have it store our new values. So we'll click on Calibrate again. And you can really enter anything here, just anything other than start. I'll just put in stop, because why not? And click stop. And if we look at the serial log, we'll see calibration stopped, and it gives you your new offsets for your X, Y, and Z. So those are all stored into EEPROM. We don't ever have to do that again. That is done. So now we need to set our minimum and maximum headings. So this is where I'm going to go to as far west as I can. You'll see we have a positive heading of 100 here on the variable published to particle cloud shown to us in Mobicle here. So we're going to set that as the maximum, and then we're going to come back over this direction to the far east, and we're going to say set minimum. Okay. And now we have a range that looks something like that. And keep in mind that tilting the sensor is going to change your heading. So it's important that you hold this thing kind of flat. I'm sure that there's a way in the library that we could take that tilt into account, but that would take some fairly extensive development. So if anyone is willing to do that, we would absolutely accept a pull request to the GitHub repository and would be happy to have it. So that's about it there. You can take a look at all of the code for this setup on the GitHub repository. You can just go to the libraries and find that Compass Relay library. Click on it to select it. Of course, yours are being community libraries. And then you can click this little button here to view it on GitHub. And you can take a look. We'll go into firmware and we can take a look at Compass Relay. Here's all the source. You can do whatever you want with that. This is a totally open license. And be sure to head over to ControlEverything.com and take a look at all the nice new products that we're offering here. You can absolutely purchase the MAG3110. If you just search that on the site, it brings that up where you can purchase it. And of course, the 8-channel relay board is available under the Particle Photon product category. If we come here and we select 8 relays, this is the controller I'm using right here, 4595. And like I said, for a limited time, including the free Particle Photon module. So I hope this article was interesting for you guys. If you have any questions on it, be sure to post in the comments and we'd be happy to help. So happy coding and have fun.